Imagine standing alone at the edge of a vast forest, the trees stretching endlessly into the mist, their shapes distorted by the thick fog that blankets the ground. Each step you take feels heavier than the last, and the path ahead disappears as if swallowed by the uncertainty of the world itself. The wind whispers softly through the branches, carrying with it the weight of every unanswered question you have ever held. You feel disoriented, unsure whether to move forward, turn back, or remain frozen where you stand. This is the cinematic embodiment of what it feels like to be lost, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Yet, what if the feeling of being lost is less about your failure to navigate life, and more about the places in which you have been searching for answers? Society conditions us to believe that being lost is a problem to be solved, a flaw to be corrected, a stage of life to escape from as quickly as possible. From childhood, we are taught that success is a straight line. Go to school, get a good job, find a partner, secure stability, achieve happiness. The media reinforces this narrative, portraying people who deviate from this script as failures or outsiders. Yet, the truth is often the opposite. Those who feel lost are not failing. They are sensing the misalignment between their inner compass and the roads they've been walking. They are asking the questions most dare not voice, and sensing the need for something more authentic, even if they cannot yet articulate it. The feeling of being lost is, paradoxically, a call to pay attention rather than a mark of deficiency. Consider the young professional who climbs the corporate ladder with determination, fueled by praise and external validation, only to arrive at the top and feel emptier than ever. Or the traveler who crosses continents, hoping that distant landscapes will somehow fill the void inside, only to discover that the restlessness remains. Or the student endlessly chasing grades, accolades, or approval, never pausing to question what truly resonates within. Each of these stories, though different in context, shares a common thread. The search has been directed outward, toward validation, success, or escape, rather than inward, towards self-understanding and alignment. In this cinematic exploration, the forest becomes more than a setting. It is a mirror of the human condition. The fog represents confusion, societal expectations, and self-doubt that cloud clarity. The twisting paths symbolize the endless choices and distractions that pull us in directions that do not resonate with our inner truth. Every rustle of the leaves, every shadow that flickers across the forest floor, mirrors the internal dialogue that questions our worth, our decisions, and our purpose. And yet, amid the uncertainty, there is a quiet pulse of possibility, a subtle signal that the right answers do not lie further along the familiar roads, but in recognizing that the journey has been misdirected all along. This is the tension that shapes the human experience, the contrast between what we think is reality and what is true. Most people believe that being lost means failure, that the wandering signifies a flaw in character or a lack of skill. The truth, however, is that being lost is often the first step toward genuine discovery. It is the moment when the illusions of success, happiness, and direction imposed by society begin to unravel, revealing the deeper, often uncomfortable reality that meaningful guidance must come from within. Here, the cinematic lens focuses not on despair, but on possibility, the tension between confusion and clarity, between fear and awakening. As we stand metaphorically in this fog, the narrative shifts inward, prompting reflection. The question emerges: where have we been looking for answers, and why have those places failed to satisfy us? The forest, dense and seemingly impenetrable, begins to transform in our minds into a landscape of introspection. Every twisted route and veiled path becomes a symbol of past choices and misguided pursuits. Every step taken, though seemingly aimless, is in fact part of a larger process of awakening, a slow realization that the sensation of being lost is less about the external journey and more about the misalignment within. By the end of this section, the audience should feel the weight of the cinematic metaphor: the foggy forest, the uncertain traveler, the search for answers in the wrong places, but also sense the subtle invitation embedded within it. The discomfort of being lost is not punishment, nor is it failure. It is a signal, a gentle but insistent nudge toward reconsidering where and how we search. The narrative closes with a reflective transition line, leaving the viewer suspended in thought. Perhaps being lost isn't a sign of failure, but a signal that we've been looking where we shouldn't. The fog begins to lift, not entirely, but just enough to suggest that clarity is possible, and that the next steps in our journey, inward, reflective, transformative, are about to begin. The sense of being lost is not merely a psychological state. It is a profound reflection of the misalignment between our inner world and the external pressures we constantly navigate. To understand why so many search in the wrong places, we must explore the patterns that govern human behavior, the subtle forces that shape our desires, and the philosophical truths that thinkers like Carl Jung, Friedrich Nietzsche, Alan Watts, and Viktor Frankl have illuminated. These forces often pull us toward external validation, status, wealth, recognition, and away from authentic self-understanding. While the external world promises fulfillment, it rarely delivers, leaving us restless, confused, and perpetually wandering. Carl Jung described the shadow self as the parts of our personality we reject or deny, often hidden deep within the unconscious. These shadows, insecurities, fears, unacknowledged desires, subtly dictate where we focus our energy. Many who feel lost are unconsciously attempting to fill these voids with achievements, social approval, or material accumulation. Yet, no external pursuit can satisfy an internal imbalance. Just as the forest in our opening scene obscured the traveler's path, the unacknowledged shadows obscure our understanding of true direction. A young professional may pursue a high-status career to earn praise, yet the hidden longing for creativity, connection, or autonomy remains unfulfilled. The feeling of being lost emerges as a natural consequence. The path walked is real, but the compass guiding it is not aligned with the self. Nietzsche's concept of becoming who you are offers a philosophical lens through which to view this struggle. Many people wander aimlessly, adopting goals dictated by culture, family, or societal norms, rather than by their intrinsic inclinations. Nietzsche argued that true fulfillment arises when individuals recognize their unique potential and act in accordance with their authentic nature, even if that path is fraught with uncertainty. The sense of being lost is often an unacknowledged cry of the self, a reminder that we are pursuing ideals that are not truly ours. A student striving for grades and accolades may appear successful to the outside world, yet inwardly feels an absence of meaning. This internal dissonance is the root of the lost experience. The energy is there, the effort is genuine, but it is misdirected. Alan Watts provides another perspective. The tension arises from a fundamental misunderstanding of life itself. He emphasized that humans are conditioned to treat life as a linear problem to solve rather than a flow to participate in. This worldview encourages us to chase milestones, checkboxes, and outcomes, creating a perpetual state of searching in the wrong places. Imagine a person traveling across continents, believing that a change in scenery will transform their life. The landscapes may be breathtaking, the experiences momentarily captivating, but without a shift in perspective, without the recognition that fulfillment must emerge internally, the journey becomes a repetition of dissatisfaction. Watts teaches that surrendering the illusion of control and aligning with life's flow allows one to see that the external pursuit was never the true answer. Viktor Frankl, through his experiences and writings, emphasized the importance of meaning over pleasure or success. He argued that human beings are resilient when their actions are directed toward purpose, yet lost when pursuing what society labels as success. The contrast between the external and internal worlds is central. The world offers distractions, accolades, and fleeting pleasures, but genuine meaning emerges only when we identify what is truly significant to us. A mid-level manager may have wealth, recognition, and comfort, yet feel a persistent emptiness. This emptiness is the symptom of searching in the wrong places, a life structured around external measures rather than the authentic, meaningful values of the individual. Cinematic mini-stories can illuminate these philosophical ideas. Consider a talented musician who abandons their art to work a conventional job to meet societal expectations. Every morning, they perform routines that earn praise but leave the soul silent. Or a traveler who journeys across the world seeking inspiration, only to find that the longing they hope to fulfill lies not in distant lands, but in the act of creating, reflecting, and observing from within. Even the social media influencer who amasses followers, likes, and approval may feel a gnawing emptiness, because the attention of others cannot substitute for the connection to oneself. Each story is a vivid demonstration of the universal human tendency to seek satisfaction in places that cannot provide it. These patterns are not failures. They are natural outcomes of a world that often encourages external seeking over internal alignment. The pressure to conform, to succeed, to be visible and impressive is omnipresent. It masks the quieter voice within that asks, "What do I truly want? What matters to me beyond recognition or reward?" The internal compass, if ignored, leaves the traveler wandering aimlessly, mistaking motion for progress. The tension between internal and external worlds also manifests in daily life. We look for love, validation, and fulfillment in relationships, possessions, or accomplishments, forgetting that these are reflections of an inner state rather than solutions to it. The recognition that external searching is insufficient is not instant or easy. It is gradual, often emerging after cycles of disappointment, introspection, and reflection. Like the traveler in the fog, the moment of clarity often comes when the external world no longer provides answers, forcing a turn inward. By the end of this exploration, the audience is guided to a pivotal awareness. The feeling of being lost is not a verdict on capability, intelligence, or worth. It is an invitation to reconsider the places where we seek guidance, validation, and fulfillment. Searching externally has its limits. Only by turning inward can we begin to align our actions with our authentic selves. The forest may remain dense, the path unclear, but the direction of inquiry toward the self offers the first light piercing the fog. The transition to transformation is set. Once the inner journey begins, the sense of being lost evolves into the discovery of meaningful direction. The realization that we have been searching in the wrong places is both liberating and unsettling. It begins quietly, like the first light of dawn spilling into a darkened forest, illuminating paths that were invisible just moments before. In this transformative stage, the traveler, the metaphorical representation of anyone who has felt lost, begins to turn inward. The external distractions, the compulsive pursuit of approval, success, and superficial pleasures, no longer dominate the horizon. There is a pause, a space between the old habits of seeking and the new awareness of authentic direction. This pause is essential. It is in the stillness that the self begins to reveal its true compass. Cinematic storytelling is crucial here, emphasizing the rhythm of emotion and reflection. Imagine the traveler stopping at the edge of a clearing, sunlight piercing the fog, the forest's oppressive silence replaced by the gentle hum of life. Every breath feels fuller, more grounded. The same scene could mirror someone in modern life, pausing amidst the chaos of deadlines, notifications, and social pressures, realizing that clarity does not come from movement alone, but from alignment. This is the turning point, understanding that the feeling of being lost was not a failure, but a signal, a call to reevaluate the paths chosen and the reasons for following them. Jung's concept of individuation becomes central at this stage. Individuation is the process of integrating the conscious and unconscious parts of the self, acknowledging the shadow, and embracing the totality of one's nature. The lost traveler begins to see the shadow not as a threat, but as a guide, illuminating areas of unfulfilled potential and repressed desires. The anxiety of uncertainty transforms into curiosity. Questions shift from "why am I failing" to "what am I avoiding within myself?" Short, impactful sentences punctuate the narrative here. You have been running. You have been avoiding. The answers were never outside. They were always within. The emotional cadence mirrors the internal shift, from confusion and frustration to awareness and intention. Nietzsche's philosophy provides further depth. To become who we truly are, one must confront discomfort and resist the seductive safety of conformity. The traveler realizes that the paths imposed by society were never theirs to follow. The external expectations, jobs, relationships, accolades can be left behind without guilt, replaced by pursuits that resonate with intrinsic values. Cinematic mini-stories illustrate this. A corporate worker abandons the corner office to write novels, finding fulfillment not in income, but in authentic creation. A social media influencer steps away from virtual validation to reconnect with meaningful relationships and personal passions. The audience sees that freedom emerges not from acquiring more, but from aligning with what already exists inside them. Alan Watts' perspective reinforces the liberation inherent in surrender. True direction is not imposed. It emerges when one stops forcing outcomes and allows life to guide the journey. The traveler in the forest learns to listen to the subtle signs, the sound of the wind, the patterns of light, the instinctive pull toward one path over another. Similarly, in life, fulfillment comes not from controlling every variable, but from attuning oneself to the rhythms of existence and responding authentically. The cinematic rhythm here slows, mirroring Watts' philosophy. Long, reflective pauses interspersed with bursts of realization create a breathing space for the audience to internalize the insight. Viktor Frankl's lessons on meaning crystallize the transformation. Human beings are resilient when their actions are guided by purpose, and the traveler begins to identify pursuits that resonate deeply, not superficially. This may manifest as creative expression, relationships built on authenticity, or work that feels meaningful rather than obligatory. The cinematic imagery captures the metaphorical dawn breaking over the forest, signaling that clarity and direction have arrived not by external validation, but through inner alignment. The once lost individual now moves with intention, each step echoing purpose rather than fear or confusion. Emotional resonance is heightened through short, cinematic sequences. A solitary figure pauses by a river, watching reflections ripple across the water, and suddenly sees themselves not as lost, but as evolving. A writer, pen in hand, realizes the story they've been chasing externally exists first within their own imagination. A musician sits at a piano, playing notes that once felt impossible, feeling a connection that no applause or social recognition could replicate. Each story reinforces the same truth. Transformation is internal, emotional, and philosophical. It is a process of shedding the illusions of external search and embracing authentic self-direction. By the end of this section, the audience should feel a profound emotional shift. The confusion and fear of being lost gradually dissolve into clarity and empowerment. The cinematic journey mirrors the psychological and philosophical evolution. Disorientation gives way to self-awareness, distraction gives way to intention, and searching in the wrong places gives way to an inward alignment that illuminates the true path. The transition line gently signals the move toward conclusion. The path was never lost. We simply needed to stop following the wrong directions. This section emphasizes the rhythm of transformation, balancing reflective pauses with intense emotional clarity, philosophical insight, and cinematic mini-stories that allow viewers to feel the journey rather than simply understand it. It bridges the deep introspection of Section 2 with a practical and poetic integration to come in the conclusion, completing the arc from confusion to revelation. The forest has cleared, and the fog slowly lifts, revealing paths that were once hidden. The traveler, a representation of anyone who has ever felt lost, uncertain, or adrift, now moves with quiet confidence. Each step is deliberate, guided not by society's expectations, fleeting validation, or the noise of the external world, but by a deeper understanding of the self. The path ahead is neither perfectly straight nor entirely free of obstacles, but it is aligned with a compass forged from reflection, authenticity, and lived experience. Cinematic imagery lingers in the mind. Sunlight streaming through the trees, shadows dancing softly on the ground, leaves rustling in harmony with unseen currents. Every detail mirrors the harmony that emerges when internal clarity meets external action, when intention meets awareness. In daily life, this transformation manifests in choices that are intentional and authentic. The compulsion to chase social approval, material accumulation, or externally defined milestones diminishes. Actions are no longer performed for recognition or obligation, but because they resonate with personal values and meaningful purpose. The corporate professional who once measured success by promotions and accolades may now pursue projects that ignite curiosity, creativity, or genuine contribution. The artist, who previously doubted the value of every brushstroke through the lens of external validation, now creates freely, finding fulfillment in the act itself rather than the applause it might bring. Even ordinary moments, a conversation, a solitary walk, a quiet meal, are infused with significance because awareness has shifted inward, and life is now observed through the lens of alignment. The contrast between past and present emphasizes the magnitude of the transformation. Life once felt dictated by external pressures, deadlines, social expectations, and the relentless pursuit of goals that were never fully one's own. Every step was measured against standards that belonged to someone else, leaving the traveler restless, anxious, and uncertain. Now, each movement is deliberate, each choice reflective, and even mistakes are reframed as part of the evolving process of self-discovery. Cinematically, the forest mirrors this change. What was once dark and intimidating now feels alive, textured, and navigable. Shadows are no longer threatening. They are contours that give depth and dimension to the landscape. Twisting paths and hidden clearings, once symbols of confusion, now represent opportunity, learning, and growth. This journey is universal. Nearly every human being, at some point, searches in the wrong places, following paths misaligned with their true self. External pressures, societal norms, family expectations, media messaging often mask our authentic desires. The difference lies in awareness. When misdirection is recognized, the lost period transforms from despair into a profound opportunity for insight and preparation. Every detour, every moment of frustration, every perceived failure becomes part of the map, an essential element in understanding oneself and discovering the paths that genuinely lead to fulfillment. Cinematic mini-stories further illustrate this point. The corporate professional who leaves a high-status position to pursue meaningful creative work initially faces uncertainty, financial discomfort, and societal scrutiny. Yet with each day aligned with values, life gains richness and purpose. The traveler who once journeyed across continents seeking fulfillment realizes that meaning does not lie in distant lands, but in the quiet, mindful engagement with life, watching a sunrise, engaging deeply with others, creating something new. The musician, once dependent on applause and recognition, rediscovers joy in the act of playing itself, unmediated by external validation. Each story reinforces the truth that fulfillment is cultivated internally, through alignment with authentic self, rather than externally. Philosophically, this integration resonates with the teachings of Jung, Nietzsche, Watts, and Frankl. Jung's individuation, the integration of conscious and unconscious aspects of self, frames the traveler's transformation. Nietzsche's call to become who you are highlights the courage required to leave imposed paths behind. Alan Watts' philosophy of surrender reminds us that life's direction emerges when we stop forcing outcomes and attune to the flow of existence. Viktor Frankl's lessons on meaning emphasize that resilience, fulfillment, and joy arise when actions align with intrinsic purpose. These insights converge to create a rich cinematic tapestry of transformation, from external confusion to internal alignment, from seeking outwardly to discovering truth within. The language of this section is rhythmic, poetic, and reflective. Long, flowing passages interweave with short, impactful sentences that punctuate moments of insight. You are not lost. You are simply beginning to understand where your true journey starts, and every misstep has led you here, to the moment where the map was inside you all along. The pacing mirrors the traveler's internal shift. Confusion dissolves into calm awareness. External compulsion gives way to intentional action, and restlessness is replaced by clarity and purpose. Finally, the reflection is both poetic and practical. The traveler embodies the audience's potential to pause, observe, and question where energy and attention are directed, which pursuits align with authentic desires, and which are shaped by fear, habit, or external influence. Life remains unpredictable, but when guided by inner truth, every challenge becomes navigable, and each moment is imbued with meaning. The cinematic metaphor of walking through a sunlit forest encapsulates this. The path is alive with possibility, yet it is approachable, personal, and deeply resonant. By the end, viewers are left with a sense of empowerment, clarity, and philosophical insight. The journey from being lost to finding direction is shown not as a linear path, but as a dynamic process of reflection, awakening, and intentional living. The traveler's steps, confident and measured, echo into the audience's own lives, offering reassurance and guidance. The sense of being lost is temporary, a precursor to self-discovery, and ultimately a gateway to living aligned with one's deepest truth. The final cinematic image lingers, a figure moving forward into the light, every step a testament to the power of turning inward, embracing discomfort, and navigating life with conscious presence.